Battle scars. That was her battle scar. This breakup with Brian Burston, clearly very emotional for her. You've had your own battle scars as well.
Here we go.
As a kid, epilepsy.
Yeah.
Which you've spoken about. There was a listening devices case with a current affair that you were right. You came through it okay through that, but it was a tough time, as I remember.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you lost your fabulous dad, who you've already mentioned, the great John Fordham, only recently. They're battle scars and you've got to get over them.
A year ago, yeah, but you know what? I mean, in the jobs that we do, you get to see all sorts of people who go through major dramas. You know, I know little kids who live in country New South Wales who have to get on a plane every 2 weeks to go to the Children's Hospital and be operated on. And if you go through the list of things that's wrong inside them, you'll be here all day. But, you know, to reflect on those things just really briefly, epilepsy was something that clearly took me by surprise because I didn't know what the hell it was. And in some way, it's still with me. Like, I don't suffer regular seizures, but it's something that I kind of always feel like there are times when I feel like I can identify the lead up to what would be a seizure.
And so you've got medication to control those times?
No. I was off medication because it's very much a developmental condition.
Right.
When your brain's growing and you're growing, depends, there's a million different types of epilepsy, but mine was one that was with me from, you know, just before I was 10 to probably late teens. And then it was a point of, I've got this under control, I know what this is. Yeah. And on the rare occasions I've suffered something as an adult, I can feel it coming. And I can remember being in London once filming a story with 60 Minutes and I was rushing to get to the airport and whatever, and then I felt it coming on. I went, oh, hang on a minute, I've got a problem here because I've got to go and get in the car. And I called Mum. I said, I'm having a seizure. She goes, when? I said, now. And that's where I got to. I got to the point of being able to go, I know what's going on here. Yeah. Sit down, take a chill pill. You know, the listening devices thing was one of those stories where it was a crazy story to do with a hitman. And we sat a bloke down in the car and we're trying to gather evidence. I took it to the police. The police charged the bloke who we were doing the story on. They charged him with conspiracy to murder, and they charged me over the way that I gathered the evidence. And I said to my mum and dad at the time, this will be 2 years of madness, millions of dollars in legal fees, Channel 9's, thankfully not mine. And then we walked away, but lesson learnt from it.
And Dad?
Yeah, Dad was one
larger than life in public life.
Yeah, Dad was a manager, so he'd manage a lot of people. In fact, when Alan Jones started out in radio, it was my dad that took him in to 2UE to do a trial because they knew each other through rugby. It was my mum pretending to be a talkback caller when he did his first trial. So they've been around a lot. Look, I was very, very lucky with Dad in that we knew it was coming when he was passing away. He knew it was happening, and it was a very matter-of-fact negotiation, and that's what it was. It was a negotiation. The doctor said, we can't help you anymore. And they said, you might have, you know, up to 2 years to live. And I remember him looking at me, he goes, mate, I'm out of here in 2 weeks. And I said, why? And he said, I'm not going to lay around in the bed for 2 years, I can tell you. So he just decided in his head, right, we're switching off here and we're winding down. And he got everyone in and we said all of our goodbyes and we recorded a few things and we shared some special moments. But you know what? The big lesson that I got out of Dad, as far as his last few years, we were sitting around having lunch one day and he was talking about, he'd occasionally have these conversations where he'd say, you know, you don't want to leave anything unsaid. So he was having one of these kind of conversations. He was always very open about how much he loved us and about how much respect he had for all of us. And he was so loyal and so vocal about it. So I said one day flippantly over lunch, I said, mate, if you love us all that much, why don't you fly us all to Hawaii for a holiday if you really want to impress us, right? He did, right? He flew the entire family. And I look back on things like that and go, you know what? He didn't die wondering.
Yeah.
He took those opportunities. And after he died, I went through my phone and I searched through my diary, Dad lunch, keywords Dad lunch, and I worked out in the 2 years before he died, there were 50 lunches that involved Dad lunch, and that's not family lunches. That's a lunch where it's Dad and myself at lunch, or some of Dad's mates and my mates, and I was like, well, I didn't miss out on anything.
You've had some valuable quality time, yeah.
You know, and I can remember at one stage you having some challenges.
Yeah.
And I remember calling Dad and saying, listen, Chris Smith's got some challenges at the moment.
He
said, what do you want me to do? I said, I think it'd be good for you to talk to him. And then I remember the next thing you know, you guys were on the phone for hours having a chat. So he was one of those people, always willing to help.
His advice was fabulous.